Bill O'Reilly, who's on with us right now. Bill, so glad that you could join us. I was watching you from home last night, you and Bret Baier, as the news was breaking about Ted Cruz pulling out. And now with John Kasich set to do so at 5 p.m. Eastern, I want to get your thoughts. Good afternoon, by the way.
You know, this isn't really surprising for Governor Kasich. He doesn't have any money. You got to have money to run. He didn't have any. So he's out, simply because there isn't any way he can continue running a viable race. And I must applaud John Kasich. I thought he was the best of all the candidates in both parties on policy. I really thought that he was excellent on policy, but it wasn't his time in history. As I told him in Detroit, he wasn't real happy that I said that to him, but It's absolutely true. In another time, I think he might have secured the nomination. As far as Cruz is concerned, I wasn't that surprised that he dropped out. Again, it's a money thing. And he just wasn't going to win. He knew he wasn't going to win. Could have made, Bernie Sanders not going to win either, but he's making a symbolic run. And Sanders is a little bit stronger than Cruz because he won Indiana, and it's just a mystery why Hillary Clinton did not campaign in that state. I can't figure that out.
Bill, I'm curious to know, we're getting word from our reporters on the trail that are saying that it looks like John Kasich won't in fact make an endorsement today. Why do you think they hold their powder in that regard, and what are they waiting for? I mean, there's one man left standing at this point.
I can't read Governor Kasich's mind. I mean, there was a lot of back and forth in this campaign. So Cruz, Kasich, Rubio, these guys, they may have taken some of it personally. I don't know. I think Kasich will be a good soldier. I think that he'll support the ticket. How energetically he campaigns, nobody knows. He'd be a good VP nominee, because obviously Trump has to win Ohio. So would Rubio. Trump has to win Florida. He has to win both of those states if he wants to be president. But I just don't know the personal animus that exists. It's impossible to tell.
Bill, it's Sandra. When Donald Trump was giving his victory speech last night, he was very complimentary of Ted Cruz. He went from calling him Lion Ted to then saying he was a heck of a competitor, and saying that he has a very bright future. Who do you think that Donald Trump might start working with that are his former competitors?
Well, he'll work with anybody. Trump's a practical man. He's not an ideologue, and he's not a guy who apparently holds grudges. It's easier for winners to be benevolent. We've got Trump on the factor tonight. He's not going to say who his VP choice is. He put Ben Carson in charge of the search committee, which I got a chuckle out of. You remember that Bush the Younger put Dick Cheney in charge of his VP search committee in the year 2000, and guess who wound up to be VP? Cheney. So maybe Carson will pull the same thing. But Trump, I think, is very practical. He knows he's got to get as many people in the tent as possible, and Cruz got millions of votes. So you don't want to alienate Cruz. You want to say nice things about him. You're the winner. There's no downside in doing that. But it is confusing. I mean, all of a sudden he goes from Lion Ted to Ted the Braveheart. Instantly. So it's a little confusing, but we'll sort it out tonight.
Bill, it's Melissa Francis. You touched on this a little bit, the VP choice. What would your advice be? Who do you think would be good for Trump? I mean, there are a lot of different groups that he kind of needs to reach out to. Who do you think?
I told him the last time he was on The Factor, Melissa, that Susana Martinez, the governor of New Mexico, would be his best choice. She's a very accomplished woman, a stalwart Republican, and she's a Hispanic. So, I mean, you're really getting a lot there, although New Mexico's electoral votes are low. But I don't know if Governor Martinez has any interest. She's, not indicated she does. But someone like that, a woman, Hispanic, but again, both Kasich and Rubio would be good seconds as well. So, Trump has a lot to think about. And I think that, he will take advice on this because, Donald doesn't take a lot of advice from folks, but I think he will take advice on this one.
Bill, Leslie Marshall here. Last night on your show, you talked about, and I actually agree with you, the cabinet that you think Donald Trump would and possibly should have in place. Can you share those names?
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Giuliani as Homeland Security Director, Chris Christie as Attorney General, Ben Carson as Health and Human Services Director. I think Trump will probably try to get as many big Republican establishment names surrounding him before he goes into Cleveland, before he goes into the convention, because he's got to get the Republican establishment back. And I think that would be smart. I think he'll do it, and that's what I expect to see.
Bill, it's Pete Hegseth. Beyond people, how does Donald Trump start to position himself differently in the way that he orients at Hillary Clinton? Does he make an immediate pivot, an immediate change, or does he take some time to consolidate? Where does he focus his gaze? Because he's got to consolidate the Republican side, but he also is itching to get at crooked Hillary as well.
Well, in public, he doesn't have any more work to do on the consolidation of Republican supporters. That'll all be done behind the scenes. So I expect Trump to probably carry out the campaign and try to get California mobilized and, visit Washington and Oregon and Montana, those states, just to raise the Trump flag. And in those speeches, because that's what he likes to do, the big set pieces, the big rallies, he'll just lambaste Hillary Clinton. That's what he'll do. I mean, why bother with any more Republican politics? He won.
Bill, it's Harris again. There was so much talk about a contested and then a brokered convention and how nasty things could get. Does this do anything with Donald Trump being left alone at the top now? And he's been the front runner since last June, but now the presumptive nominee. Does this do anything to heal any of the wounds, or do you anticipate things still being yet a little chippy when we get to Ohio?
Not at the convention. The people who don't like Trump won't show up. John McCain's not going to go. I don't think you'll see Romney there. I don't think the convention's going to be contentious.
You don't think they'll come forward now? Even just out of unity? No.
No. I don't think McCain and Romney will I think they'll sit it out. I could be wrong on that. I haven't been wrong, by the way, you guys. No, I haven't been wrong since June. Although I have to say I'm very surprised.
I think it dates previous to June.
I have to say I am surprised that Trump won. And nobody, including me, thought he would. But every step of the way, you could see him building power. And tonight I'm going to tell everybody how he won it. And you got to give the man credit. I mean, this is a 1,000,000-to-1 shot that he pulled off here. But I don't expect. I expect the people who don't like Trump for whatever reason just to sit it out in the convention. Why go and cause trouble? Remember, Ronald Reagan in '76, when Ford beat him for the nomination, he didn't cooperate with Ford. He didn't even vote for Ford. If you read Killing Reagan, Ronald and Nancy Reagan did not vote for Gerald Ford. They just left. They didn't vote for anybody in '76. And so there was some nasty stuff going on there at that convention. But I don't expect it with the Trump. It'll be just a coronation of Trump. Well, Trump supporters will be there, and the dissenters will not. So that's what's going to happen.
Is Hillary Clinton on the other side of the political aisle enough, as you heard Reince Priebus calling it, the hashtag Never Clinton campaign moving forward? Is the idea of a Hillary Clinton in the White House enough for conservatives and others within the Republican Party to galvanize behind Trump and do what the Reagans didn't do back then and vote anyway?
It's hard to say how many people will sit it out. I think it's probably a neutral. There are just as many Democrats who don't like Hillary Clinton, who may not show up, as don't like Donald Trump in the conservative ranks. But Hillary Clinton would be very wise to move to the center quick. She's going to pick this Sherrod guy, Sherrod Brown, the senator from Ohio, as the VP on the Democratic side. I think that's a lock. So Sherrod Brown's a real far-left guy. And that will allow Hillary herself to move into the center, which she should do very, very quickly, because if she comes off as reasonable and if she comes off as, personable, not the ice queen, then she could pick up some independent and even disenchanted Republican votes. It's possible to do that. But she's got to make a move pretty quick, Hillary Clinton. She can't be, being this progressive extremist. And you saw it in West Virginia where she tried to convince the coal miners that she didn't want to take their jobs yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going, what? You
Well,
know,
and now
3
Donald
weeks
Trump is
ago
running
you
on
were
that.
calling for landslides in there, and now you're saying that they're okay. So I think you're going to see her move to the center fairly quickly.
All
And
right.
Bill, we've got Donald Trump just tweeted out. He said, "Join me in Charleston, West Virginia tomorrow, 7 o'clock, where he'll be at the Charleston Civic Center." You're going to have him on your show tonight. At times when you've had him on, you have made suggestions to him. Are you going to suggest anything to him?
Yeah, I mean, I make suggestions to all of them, not just Trump. I mean, every politician that comes on, my job as an analyst is to say, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? This might be, you know, interesting. So sure, I'll do that.
Okay.
And then he'll do what he always does, ignore it.
Well, Bill, great to have you. I don't think we missed the hashtag. I mean, if Donald Trump was looking for a nice one, I think you said, or another one, I should say, you said the words ice queen.
Yeah.
And I saw Leslie Marshall perk up. Thank you for joining us.
All right,
I want to
guys,
tell
thanks for having me
everybody
in.
what's going to happen next with Bill O'Reilly. We've been talking about it this hour as the news is breaking with John Kasich.